The Saturnian system is one of the most iconic places in the solar system. The 7 large icy moons, all unique in their own way. The stunning rings of Saturn, and the countless tiny moons orbiting between and beyond them. Looking at them, it feels eternal, like everything's always had been like this. But that's far from the truth. Let me tell you the story of how Saturn's system came to be how it is today. Our story began hundreds of millions of years ago, when the 5 children of Saturn, Zephyrus, Cybele, Helios, Titan, and Iapetus, lived in harmony. Well, relative harmony. You know how siblings are. In the center of it all lies their mother, a ringless Saturn. She was very different from the planet she is today. She was ignorant of her children and often left them unattended. This behavior of Saturn caused her children to become troublemakers, very annoying troublemakers. They would even often disturb the moons of other planets just to get the attention they wanted. Saturn never once tried to stop their behavior or even acknowledge them, so they often played amongst themselves. Then, one day, a conflict arose amongst them. Helios' orbit had moved into a 1 to 2 orbital resonance with Titan, which perturbed her a lot. Being the volatile kids they are, they got into a fight about it.
"I'm just moving my orbit slightly. Deal with it, big sis,"
said Helios.
"Yeah? Well, your gravity's annoying me. Find some other distance to orbit from,"
Titan replied. The two kept on going back and forth on who should move. As they argued and argued, Helios' orbit slowly grew more and more elliptical, drawing him closer to Titan over time.
"Hey, enough of this stupid fighting, you two!"
yelled Iapetus in frustration. He scolded them about how their never-ending argument was also affecting him. It turns out, the resonance between Titan and Helios had been pushing his orbit to be more and more inclined. Ignoring him, the two siblings continued to fight and bicker. After what felt like an eternity of bickering, Helios snapped. His emotions consumed him, and in a fit of rage, he hurled himself at Titan. Intending to merely brush against Titan to teach her a lesson, he was instead almost entirely consumed by the larger Titan. Titan screams in pain and horror as material from her and her brother gets thrown out and rains back down as the impact melts her crust. Titan's agony continues as gases from her crust burst out of her cracked open surface. The other moons immediately saw what happened and rushed to Titan's side, but it was too late. By the time they arrived, Titan was reeling in pain and crying as she was covered in the material that was once Helios. All that remained of him was a small coalesced piece of debris which she held on to.
"Titan, what the heck happened?"
asked Zephyrus, scared.
You monster! You killed Helios!"
Cybele screamed. Titan desperately tried to explain what had happened to them, still sobbing after losing her brother. Iapetus remained silent, crying silently about the loss of Helios. A couple thousand years had passed since the accident. Everyone was still mourning the loss of Helios. Even Saturn, whom had always ignored her children, took notice and mourned the loss of one of her children. Titan, now transformed after consuming Helios, was hated and shunned by almost every moon in the solar system. No matter what she did, they wouldn't listen to her side of the story. So, she stayed in a high and eccentric orbit of Saturn, distanced by every one of her remaining siblings. She kept the clump of debris that was once Helios, which she named Hyperion, close to her, always bringing him with her as a keepsake of her now deceased brother. Amongst all the moons that hate Titan, Cybele hated her the most. She felt the need to punish Titan for what she did. As a result, Cybele started the habit of hurling asteroids at Titan. Titan simply accepts them, still feeling guilty for the loss of Helios. Every orbit, she would pelt Titan with a rock, hurling it at her with all the hatred she has. Unknowingly, whilst doing so, Titan's gravity slowly started pulling Cybele into an orbital resonance. After a couple 100 million years, the other moons have started forgiving Titan, all but Cybele. Having watched Titan endure Cybele's hatred for all this time, Iapetus had enough.
"Cybele, stop doing this to her. Don't you think you've hurt her enough?"
exclaimed Iapetus. Iapetus continues.
"I know what Titan did was bad, but what if it really was an accident? Even if it wasn't, I think you've done more than enough to her. Stop this at once or else.
Cybele still refused. She claimed that the life of their brother isn't worth any finite amount of suffering Titan can go through.
Didn't you love him too? Didn't you love your brother Helios?
Yelled Cybele. Iapetus backed away from a crying Cybele. Eventually, the inevitable came. After being hurt and abused by Cybele for hundreds of millions of years, Titan broke. Titan said to Cybele while crying,
Cybele, please stop. I know what I did was wrong, yet everyone has forgiven me already. Why won't you just forgive me? I can't take this anymore.
Cybele yelled back, saying that it was because only she had truly loved her brother. Titan saw Cybele as she stormed off. She realized there will be no end to this unless she does something. After realizing this, Titan grew mad and devised a plan against Cybele to stop her. When Cybele finally fell into the 4-to-1 orbital resonance with Titan, Titan finally had the power to make her stop. Titan hesitates for a moment before finally deciding to enact her plan. With a strong push, she nudged Cybele's orbit to cross into Saturn's Roche limit to rip her apart. Unbeknownst to Titan, she had sent Cybele careening towards Cypherus. In a violent manner, the two crashed and splattered icy chunks all over Saturn's orbit. Titan and Iapetus, the only two remaining siblings, watched in horror to the sight before them. A cloud of debris that was once Cypherus and Cybele scattered around Saturn. Saturn, of course, immediately noticed. Hearing the painful screams of her two children as they collided with each other reminded her of the first time it had happened. She screamed and wept for her lost daughters, surrounded by their icy remnants. Iapetus rushed to Titan and screamed at her.
Why? What have you done, Titan? To kill not one, but 3 of our siblings! Cybele was right. You are a monster! Yelled Iapetus.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I didn't notice what happened. I just want Cybele to stop hurting me.
Titan replied. Iapetus asked again.
What could you have possibly be thinking of doing to Cybele to have caused this to happen? Are you stupid? You killed them both!
Titan didn't reply, afraid to tell the truth of what she actually wanted to do to Cybele. Iapetus ran to his mother's side to comfort her, leaving Titan to reflect on what she has done. Titan broke down, crying as she let her actions sink in. As time went on, the debris started to coalesce into new icy moons. The rocket cores of Cypherus and Cybele remained mostly intact, and had started to reaccumulate material as well, a sort of rebirth from the massacre that happened. These new moons that formed from the debris would later be named Mimas, Enceladus, and Thetis. Meanwhile, the two cores of Cypherus and Cybele would be named Dione and Rhea. The remaining debris that were too close to Saturn to accrete became her rings, the one she still bears today. As the new moons were forming, the Saturnian family began healing. Saturn started paying more attention to her moons and vowed to care for the newly forming moons, like she should have done with her original moons all those eons ago. Titan worked on her anger issues and violent tendencies, and still is working on herself slowly today. She also promised to care for her little siblings once they accreted. Iapetus, being the last of the original siblings, saw all of his siblings being massacred and still dislikes Titan a lot for what she did. But he had chosen to keep it a secret for the sake of his still forming siblings. Today, 100 million years later, the Saturnian system is a peaceful family. Titan now hides her dark past behind the charming and cute girl personality, hoping to never turn back to who she once was. Iapetus orbits distantly and avoids the other moons, but every once in a while, he'll show his caring side and hang out with them. The 5 younger siblings all look up to Titan and Iapetus as their older siblings. Meanwhile, Saturn is now a caring mother who cherishes every one of her moons. She also often boasts about her gorgeous ring system to the other planets, whilst trying so desperately to forget about the massacre behind it. Even today, Saturn's and Titan's relationship hasn't quite fully healed yet. Forgiving someone for an atrocity that severe is probably impossible. Yet, despite that, Saturn still tries to work things out and forgive Titan for what she did, for the sake of her new moons and her daughter.